And now, a WFXR News special presentation, Veterans Voices, honoring those who served.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our 2024 Veterans Voices special on this Veterans Day. I'm Jermaine Ferrell. Over the next half hour, we'll hear stories from veterans across our region. Now, I spent 10 years in the Army growing a tight bond with my fellow soldiers. Of course, I'd like to thank all the men and women in uniform and those who have made the service for your ultimate sacrifice. Now, a few weeks ago, WFXR Sam Graham accompanied local veterans on the Central and Southwest Virginia Honor Flight. Each April and October, it is an incredible opportunity for America's heroes to visit several of the Washington, D.C. area military monuments they wouldn't typically get a chance to see during a three-day weekend. Sam shares the story of the final day of the trip for 15 veterans of the Vietnam and Korean Wars.
Asking me to be on this trip. It has been an adventure.
People took a moment to reflect on their experience during the honor flight.
It's been the most pleasurable thing of my life.
President and CEO Martin Leamy asked trip participants to share their favorite memories on the final day.
What was their it? What was the most meaningful thing that they're taking home with them?
To get all this respect, just don't feel deserving.
Amen, brother.
Thank you so much.
Most of the honor flight trip is planned, but in those moments of reflection, there are special occasions that seem to make the biggest impacts, like a group of middle schoolers from Minnesota who asked to shake the veterans' hands.
I accept. All right, there you go.
The teacher came up to me and said, "Would you mind if my kids lined up and shook your veterans' hands as they walked in?" And I'm like, absolutely.
That final day itself served as the welcome back that many did not receive when they returned from the Vietnam War.
Well, I want to say welcome home to all. We didn't get told that, and I'm not going to tell you how we were treated. But this is absolutely wonderful what we've been treated this weekend.
Once the veterans returned home, a pinning ceremony was held for all Vietnam vets, thanking them for their service. The honor flight also received a $6,800 donation that will be put toward future trips. In Bedford, Sam Graham, WFXR News.
Thank you so much, Sam. It was nearly a year in the making, the city of Covington getting a chance to honor the men and women who served and made the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War era. The Wall That Heals, it's a traveling replica of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall, and it gives vets a chance to see the wall up close and personal without going to Washington. Here's my trip to Covington for the tribute to the Vietnam veterans.
The motivation was, I remember, I came home from the Persian Gulf and my father and family are there, and I see him on the pier, and I'm looking going, where were you when he came home? And they never got it, and it's just bothered me, and throughout the years I kept trying to find a way to honor him and the other Vietnam veterans that never got the homecoming that they so deserved.
That was the motivation for VFW Post 1033 Commander Sean Wright. With Wright's effort and the drive of the Allegheny Highlands community, the dream is now a reality. Not only is the Wall That Heals in place, there's a mobile education center which educates visitors about the Vietnam War. The Wall That Heals, which is 375 feet in length and bears the names of more than 58,000 men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in Vietnam, is transported from community to community. It's been around since 1996, and the tribute honors more than the 3 million Americans who served in the U.S. Armed Forces during the Vietnam War. The Vietnam veterans there, as well as their families, appreciate the opportunity to see the replica wall.
I think it's really great to be here. I mean, we are really fortunate to have something this magnitude come to our little community. And it speaks well of all the people that's here today that came out. And it's just a tribute to the veterans, in my opinion.
That's what we're here for, is to help those Vietnam veterans let go, open up, share, and move on, to know they're not by themselves.
Now, last month, the president of the National Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary traveled to Bedford to visit the National D-Day Memorial. Brenda Bryant toured the memorial with a group of local VFW leaders and members. Her organization looks after the needs of veterans to help them live full lives. It's staffed by volunteers, and she says visiting the D-Day Memorial is a way for the VFW to honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice to defend our country.
it's so heart-wrenching. It's a time when we can have an opportunity to say thank you for the service that you gave to our country.
Now, during the tour, the group heard about the sacrifice of the Bedford boys. 19 soldiers from Bedford died on D-Day. Only 3,200 people lived in Bedford at that time. Proportionately, the town suffered the most severe D-Day losses of any place in the country. Now, back in June in Bedford, folks gathered at the Bedford Boys Museum ahead of the 80th anniversary of D-Day. The battle in Normandy was the beginning of the end of Hitler's regime in World War II. Now, we aired a documentary produced by our parent company of Nexstar telling the tale of bravery on that day. We presented a special preview at the museum. Now, we got reaction from Sheila. Her brother was a part of D-Day, one of the famous Bedford boys.
I think it was wonderful. I learned a lot about things that I didn't know before.
Sheila says her brother Charles William Pfizer died just about a month after the Normandy landings. He was only 22. Now, coming up next on Veterans Voices, what we know about a program designed to bring essential support to military and veteran families with little ones.
Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve. Sponsored by these fine sponsors. Now, back to Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
Well, life in the military presents risks and challenges, but you wouldn't expect having to decide between buying diapers or buying groceries as one of them. Now there's an effort to solve that problem. WFXR's George Noloff has details on Operation Bottom Cover.
Raising a baby's already tough business. Now imagine being hundreds, if not thousands of miles from home and away from any family support system while deployed with the U.S. military. Well, the last thing you need to worry about is diapers.
What we are finding is that so many of our veterans, when they're in the military, their pay is so low that they can't afford the essentials for their families. So many of our veterans have to decide, do I buy food for our family or do I purchase the diapers and the things that they need for their babies?
And that predicament has led the Veterans of Foreign Wars Auxiliary to come up with something called Operation Bottom Cover. Its mission, get as many military baby behinds covered as possible.
Our Operation Bottom Cover is to provide diapers and wipes for military families. We can send them all over the United States, all over the country. We're working with an organization out of California that will actually mail the things to people like in Japan.
So you want to help make Operation Bottom Cover a success? Easy enough to do. Next time you go to the store, just pick up a pack of these baby diapers, then swing by your local VFW post, like this one here in Roanoke, post 1264. In fact, inside, they've already got a baby diaper tree set up.
We're taking them to our National Guards, we're taking them to our military bases, we're taking them to veterans hospitals where we have young military people that are coming in, and when they leave, we send them with diapers to help them out.
The VFW says our military members already have enough to deal with, and that a tough call like deciding between food or diapers is not one any military family should have to make. George Noloff, WFXR News.
Thank you so much.
Roanoke.
Thank you so much, George. Now, General William Sherman once said war is hell, and sometimes our Vietnam veterans or veterans in general bring that hell home with them, causing some to need special help to overcome what they're dealing with. One program that does that is Project Healing Waters. It's a therapeutic fly fishing program that gets vets on the water and into the peace of nature. The local branch of Project Healing Waters has an urgent need. It's looking for a new program lead. Without a lead, the Roanoke chapter may be forced to shut down.
We're really looking for anybody who's interested in fishing. If you fly fish, that's great. But really, we need somebody with good program management skills, and we can work with you to learn all the fly fishing and everything else.
Now, if you can help and are interested in the program lead position, go to the Roanoke Project Healing Waters webpage or Facebook page for more information. Coming up next on Veterans Voices, it's been more than a year since Roanoke College announced their new athletic director in Army veteran Curtis Campbell. How the Southwest Virginia native is applying what he calls an eye-opening experience in the military to his time with the Maroons.
Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve. Sponsored by these fine sponsors. Now, back to Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
Roanoke College made history in July 2023 as Army veteran Curtis Campbell took over as the Maroons athletic director, replacing longtime AD Scott Allison. It was a happy homecoming for the Pulaski County native. I caught up with Campbell as he was 7 months into the job. For Roanoke College athletic director Curtis Campbell, he got a big dose of education from growing up in Pulaski County when he joined the Army during his basic training in Fort McClellan, Alabama.
It was a good experience for me. You know, I tell people that being in the Army was really my first experience with real diversity. You know, in Pulaski, we had primarily just black and white. You know, we had in the Army, it was my first real experience with Latino Americans, Asian Americans, you know, and even New Yorkers who I thought were sort of, you know, the accents and stuff were different. And so that was my first true experience with diversity and learning about people.
Campbell served for 3 years in the Army as a military police officer and in supply.
If you've ever been in the Army, supply is a great gig. It's a great job. You know, you get to learn a lot of things, and you're everybody's friend when you work in supply.
Campbell also added to his military portfolio by jumping out of planes. Campbell has 23 years of experience working in intercollegiate athletics. Before coming to Roanoke College, he was the AD at Morehouse College in Atlanta. He also was an AD at Western Oregon University, Tuskegee University, and Stillman College. Overall, he uses his military service as an eye-opening experience to help with his more than 2 decades in intercollegiate athletics.
I think it made me more accepting of diversity and realized diversity was much bigger than I thought it was, and how we all interact with people. And, you know, they say when you're in a foxhole, it doesn't make no difference what color the person is next to you. You know, as long as he's watching your back and you're watching his. And so I think training there just opened my eyes to it's a much larger, diverse United States out there than I knew growing up in my little corner, southwest corner of Virginia.
Now, Campbell's son is carrying on the family's military tradition as he is serving in the Marine Corps. Now, coming up in Veterans Voices, a leader of young people, we share the story of 3 military veterans and how they're giving back to the high school athletes. This is Veterans Voices.
Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve. Sponsored by these fine sponsors. Now, back to Veterans Voices, honoring those who serve.
Well, we hit the track for our next Veterans Voices story. I caught up with an Army veteran from Lynchburg to talk about how he's giving back to his high school alma mater through coaching.
We're gonna have hands up. We're gonna stick our heel in there, and closest your butt is right now to your heel is where we want to be.
Well, I gotta ask you, first of all, what was it like running track when you did it in high school compared to coaching these track athletes now?
I still get the same enjoyment out of watching them as I did when I was competing. So it's kind of the same, just I can't do it no more.
For EC Glass head track and field coach Rodney Smith, he bleeds blue and white through and through for the EC Glass Hilltoppers. Smith ran track for Glass in 1988 and 1989. After graduating from EC Glass, Smith joined the Army, serving from 1989 through 1992. It included time going over to the Middle East for the Gulf War. Smith says his time in the Army was valuable for overcoming one thing in his life.
I needed the military more than I thought I did, because I still was kind of shy, even though we had a lot of success in track. But after being in Iraq, that shyness went away real quick. So it makes you brave, and you understand missions. So on a mission to get something accomplished.
Since 2000, Rodney Smith has been on a mission coaching track and field at his alma mater of EC Glass. He's applied what he's learned serving his country with leading the Hilltoppers track and field program.
We have discipline here. We have standards that we expect to follow, and pushing the kids, but understanding for a reason, pushing them to be better for a reason so they can, have a better life. And my goal for them is when they come back, when they're 23, 24, say, Coach, I had a really good time.
Now, Smith stresses he wants his teams to have fun and not waste the gifts they have been blessed with. Now, one other story is a dream has come true for one local military veteran. Last July, Roanoke native Howard Tucker was named the head football coach at Roanoke Catholic School. For Tucker, this is his first head football coaching job at the varsity level, as well as a moment he has wanted for years.
2004, right? I mean, 2 5s and 2 4s. 2 5, yeah. Yeah, 2 5 and 2 4s.
2 5 2 4.
Hard work on 3. 1, 2, 3. Hard work. Let's go. Let's go.
What was it like to get the call, say, hey, we want you to come to our school?
At first I was kind of shocked. And then it's just been like slowly hitting me as people been calling me, congratulating me. And I was really surprised by how many people in the community found out about it and how fast they found out about it. Because my phone has been blowing up. Like for the past week, like I had to actually turn it off last night.
Howard Tucker's road to his first varsity level head football coaching job took a few paths to get there. Before getting to Roanoke Catholic, Tucker has nearly a quarter of a century of coaching experience, including being an assistant at William Fleming, Patrick Henry, and in charge of the Patriots middle school program, and in the Roanoke City Recreation League. After a year in the Army Reserve, he went on to 5.5 years of active duty service in the Navy. Tucker has used what he has learned in his military service to help him when it comes to coaching the youth.
It helps you with organization. It also, it also helps you with your authority, like explaining how you want things done. Like I'm the head coach, so my coaches that are under me, they got to understand what their job is, but they can't try to undermine me, and we got to work together like that. I'm the head, but it takes, like it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a great staff to coach a team.
Not only is Coach Tucker a military veteran, most of his coaching staff is made up of guys who have also served their country in the military. This is something not lost on the Roanoke Catholic players.
We know that they're not just telling us things. We know that they've experienced it and they know what it's like to work hard. They're not just telling us that we need to. They also have been through it, so it's easier to understand where they're coming from.
It's a thing of respect, and I value that, and I'm really grateful that we have that opportunity to have them teach us both, not just football, but the things they learned in the military as well. I think it's a great thing to know, and they've already kind of shared their experience a little bit with us, and I think it's been great so far.
I think his military experience will really help us and push us to be better people and better football players. All these coaches that he's brought will help us become better athletes and just better people overall.
At the end of the day, the personal goal is plain and simple for Coach Tucker.
I'm going to try to do the good job like everybody's wishing me, go do a great job, Coach, go do a great job. And I'm excited about helping these young players become great players, if I can do that.
Now, Tucker, in his first season with the Celtics, he led the team to a winning record of 6-3. Staying with high school football, this is a year of a dream come true for a man with Carroll County roots. Carroll County's high school's new head football coach and military veteran Seth Greer answered the call to become the Cavaliers' new head football coach. I caught up with Greer right before he prepared the team for the upcoming season.
Get the edge, they want a big boy on you. Okay. Hey, you can be aggressive with that. Play side guard. Hey, play side guard, pull, that's buck.
Right out of high school, I tell the kids I had 4 offers, the Army, the Navy, the Marine Corps, and the Air Force. I don't think they were really interested. But went to the Navy for 4 years and went into a law enforcement path. That was probably the easiest route for me. And I spent about 11 years as a law enforcement officer, but halfway through that I got into coaching.
For Seth Greer, the 2003 grad of Carroll County High School, his mix of his military career and law enforcement with the Pulaski County Police Department and Carroll County Sheriff's Office has led him to the world of education, being an assistant coach at Carroll County, Grayson County, and Floyd County High Schools, as well as being a teacher. Greer's military deployments were an eye-opener for him.
I'm one of those guys that probably would have done 20 years. But I had a young son at the time. My last deployment was probably 18 months after extension, boots on ground. When I left, my son was 2. I got back, he was a little over 3.5, and I don't think he knew who I was for a couple weeks. And at that point, I was like, maybe, there's a different path. Deployments takes a special kind of person and a support structure, and I think it does make you look at the things maybe you were taking for granted. You know, it opens your eyes to the everyday, you know, getting to see your family every day, having the freedoms of just going to the store, you know, things of that nature that we do every single day that sometimes we take for granted. So I do think there's some perspective to that.
With Greer's experience in the uniform, he hopes to use it to turn around a Carroll County program that has seen more losses than wins over the years.
We need to improve each day, each week. You know, looking at the season as we're trying to get better week 1, then we need to get better for week 2. Need to get better for week 3. It's embracing that process that the end goal, you know, Friday nights are the product of Monday through Thursday is what a lot of people say. We want to look at, can we get better as a football team each day? And what does the culmination of that look like after 9 weeks, after 10 weeks? So our goal is to embrace that process.
Well, that's all the time we have. On behalf of Nexstar and WFXR News, we would like to extend our thanks to all the veterans for your work. Sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. Your country owes you so much. To see more stories on our veterans, you can visit our website, WFXRTV.com. Thank you again for joining us for our Veterans Voices special. I'm Jermaine Ferrell. Have a good and happy Veterans Day.